The ocean should have killed him first. Not the war, not the prison camps, not the beatings. The ocean. Because out there, beneath a burning sky and surrounded by thousands of miles of empty water, human beings disappear quietly. No graves, no rescue, no evidence they were ever there at all. And for 47 days, Louis Zamperini drifted through that emptiness. Before the war, before the ocean, before survival became the only thing left, Louis Zamperini was trouble. As a boy, he stole anything he could carry, fought constantly, ran from police, ran from teachers, ran from consequences. Anger lived inside him early. The son of Italian immigrants, he never fully fit in. People mocked his accent, mocked his family, mocked the boy who always seemed ready to fight. And eventually, he did, again and again. Until his older brother noticed something unusual. Louis could run. Not casually, not normally. He could outrun almost everyone. And slowly, that anger found direction. What once made him reckless, now made him relentless. Every mile hardened him. Every race gave him purpose. The same boy heading toward destruction began running toward greatness. And before long, the world noticed. At just 19 years old, Louis Zamperini competed in the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The stadium was enormous, packed with noise, flags everywhere, and somewhere in those crowds sat Adolf Hitler himself. Louis didn't win gold, but in the final lap, he exploded forward with a speed so shocking that people couldn't stop talking about it afterward. For a moment, the troubled kid from California looked unstoppable. The future opened wide in front of him. More races, more records, more dreams. Then, the world went to war. Like millions of others, Louis traded running shoes for a military uniform. The Pacific Ocean during World War II was unforgiving. Endless water, violent storms, mechanical failures, disappearing aircraft. And in 1943, aboard a damaged B-24 bomber known as the Green Hornet, everything began to fall apart. The aircraft had problems before it even left the ground, but they flew anyway. Hours passed above open ocean. No cities, no lights, nothing beneath them except water. Then, engine trouble. The bomber struggled violently in the air. Metal shook. The nose dipped lower. Men looked at each other without speaking. Because sometimes, silence says enough. And then, the plane fell from the sky. The Pacific swallowed almost everything instantly. Wreckage disappeared beneath the waves. Fuel burned across the surface. Screams vanished. When the violence finally stopped, only 3 men remained alive, floating in the middle of the ocean. No land, no rescue, no certainty anyone was even looking for them. Just a small raft, drifting into endless blue. At first, they believed help would come. Surely someone would find them. Surely someone knew where they crashed. But the ocean is enormous, and every sunrise slowly destroyed another piece of hope. The heat became unbearable. Hunger twisted through their bodies like knives. By the 3rd week, exhaustion consumed them. Their bodies grew thinner, movements slower, thoughts weaker. Sometimes Lewis hallucinated. Sometimes they spoke about food for hours, just to distract themselves from starvation. Other times, nobody spoke at all, because death no longer felt dramatic anymore. Only close, very close. Then came the planes. Not rescue planes, Japanese bombers. The men looked up in disbelief as gunfire ripped toward the raft. Imagine surviving a plane crash, surviving sharks, surviving starvation, only to be hunted in the middle of the ocean. Bullets tore through the water around them. The raft barely survived. And somehow, they did too. But the ocean still wasn't finished. One by one, their strength faded further. And after more than a month drifting through open water, one of the survivors died. There was no funeral, no grave, only silence, and an endless horizon. Lewis and the remaining survivor kept drifting, burned by the sun, starving, half alive, still moving forward because the alternative was surrender. Then finally, after 47 days at sea, land appeared. But survival was not waiting for them there. The Japanese military captured them almost immediately, and suddenly, the ocean no longer seemed like the worst thing they had endured. The prison camps stripped people apart slowly. Food was scarce. Beatings were common. Humiliation was constant. Prisoners were treated less like human beings, and more like objects waiting to break. And one prison guard in particular seemed obsessed with destroying Lewis psychologically. His name was Matsuhiro Watanabe. The prisoners called him the Bird, and cruelty followed him everywhere. Day after day, the abuse continued. The war dragged on. Bodies weakened. Hope faded. Some prisoners stopped believing they would ever leave alive. And deep inside, hatred began growing inside Lewis too. Not strength, not inspiration, hatred, the kind suffering creates when it lasts too long. Then, finally, the war ended. Japan surrendered. The camps opened, And after years of surviving things that should have killed him, Louis Zamperini went home. But survival is complicated, because sometimes the body escapes, while the mind remains trapped. The nightmares followed him. So did the rage. So did the memories. The ocean. QQ. The camps. The beatings. The faces of men who never came home. People saw a survivor, but inside, Louis was still at war. And slowly, the hatred began consuming what survival had left behind. Alcohol, rage, isolation, the same mind that once refused to surrender, now struggled to find peace, because surviving pain and healing from it are not the same thing. But eventually, Louis realized something difficult. If he carried the hatred forever, the prison camps would never truly end. So little by little, he began rebuilding himself. Not all at once, not perfectly, but intentionally. He spoke about the pain instead of burying it, leaned on faith, reconnected with life beyond survival. And over time, the anger that once kept him alive slowly loosened its grip. And maybe that's what makes his story unforgettable. Not because he never suffered, not because he never felt fear, but because even when everything around him tried to destroy the human spirit, something inside him kept enduring long enough to finally see the shore again. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting the storm, not pretending the pain never happened, but refusing to let it be the final chapter of your life. Most of us may never drift across the ocean for 47 days. We may never face prison camps, war, or starvation, but all of us, in one way or another, face our own oceans, grief, loss, failure, fear, memories we can't escape, battles nobody else fully sees. And like Louis, healing rarely happens all at once. Sometimes it begins with simply holding on a little longer. Sometimes with speaking about the pain instead of hiding it. Sometimes with forgiveness. Sometimes with allowing other people to help carry the weight. But no matter how endless the water may seem, no storm lasts forever. And if you keep going long enough, you may someday realize you were closer to the shore than you thought. Because sometimes the strongest people aren't the ones who never suffer, but the ones who refuse to stay broken. This is the power of pain, where broken stories become unbreakable strength.